Hi, and welcome to a second compiler plugin tutorial. So in the previous session, we did a bit of project structure. I think my audio is a bit low. I hope now it's a bit better. Tested, I think it's a bit better. I hope it's loud enough though. Okay. I don't want to add so much gain into this item. There's a bit of noise outside. I want to avoid that. And also my keyboard is a bit clicky. I'm pretty sure you can hear it when during the sessions, but hopefully you can survive through that. So the previous video we did a bit of project structure. I moved a bit of that around, renamed this one to plugins, and as I said, we needed the L.A.Z.E library. It was previously annotations, but we have recently renamed it to L.A.Z.E. I realized also we have a bit of items that are missing inside the L.A.Z.E item. Since we added other targets, that is to mean the Linux target, just all the other targets that we added, we did realize that we needed the Android AGP plugin, Android Gradle plugin. We can just add this simply inside here first. So it's going to grab that quickly. So Android libraries, Android Kotlin libraries. We don't need the application. We will need the application inside the other item inside here specifically. We can't move this to our libraries, so I can say this is a plugin. Let's see if I add it, build config. Is it a module or is it by ID? Build config. I think it was 3.0.1, but let's just confirm that 3.1.0. 1.0. Add it here. I don't know, Android library. We already have that there, so that should be good. So we have Android library when implementation for that is false. Just validate that one loads. Add it. We need to add it where we're using it as well. So I know I'm doing this a bit off in terms of I'm doing all of this manually. And the main reason I'm doing this manually is because of just how difficult it is to get the project running, and I just wanted us to face all the small caveats here and there slowly and then just work through them. Compiler SDK is not specified, so for this we need compiler SDK specified for every multi-platform project. That one is normally inside the build.gradle.kts file, and you need to specify this here, an Android section, compiler SDK lives versions Android. I'm expecting to see something similar to that here. Android SDK, it's here, okay, and we are not okay yet. So what I normally do once I face something like this is I just go ahead and do a lot of disabling. Okay, so I'm going to disable from top to bottom, and then I enable them one by one as we go down. Make sure that, okay, so that's not what is failing. I bet it's this one. Yeah, let's see. So we have a build script that also says metadata. What's the exact error? now resolve all the dependencies. Within the project, might I have initialized true Java targets? Yes. Okay, that was a dumb one, but we are good. Okay, the problems of copy paste. Okay, so we have our project set up roughly. You might also just want to commit your code. Make sure you add as much as possible. You don't need these XMLs. They're normally inside the build. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want anything from idea. So I want to say everything from build and everything from Gradle should be gone. The wrapper, maybe maintain the wrapper .jar. Let's see. I don't know what this one does. It says maintain them or not maintain them. I think it maintains them. I don't want it to maintain them, so all the outs should be gone. All the bin should be gone. And that Gradle jar. What do you mean? I generally just don't want Gradle inside here. Generally don't want Gradle inside here. I don't know why that was there. And then what else do we need? Because I definitely want this one to be maintained inside my Git, so I'm going to keep it. Let's see, I don't want anything from .idea, so definitely add .idea here as a whole. Okay, don't want anything from out. Everything from .idea needs to be gone. Generated nebins, different IDs. Feel like that's okay. Yeah, that kitting node looks stable enough to be shared with this item here. Local Gradle, local properties. Definitely do not want the local properties to be shared, so okay, this one was also neat. .gradle.idea, yes, so we've added these items here, star.iml. Definitely don't need build. I think we've added build up there. Captures, what are those? Single instance, single instance, single instance, single instance. Good enough. Copy that. Share it there. Okay. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? Initial commit. I don't know why this one is here. This one. Or this one. This one. Or this one. Or this one. Or this one. This one. .idea. When I not ignore .idea. The initial commit. Okay. Let's see if we have anything from. We do, and I do not know why. We still have this, but you can delete them later on. Actually, neat trick we can do right now is just go to our files, select.idea, delete everything that's there, and commit. Idea. Initial cleanup commit. Okay, I just want to exit. I think my keyboard is not well placed, but that's okay. That's okay. Okay. We're good. Some files did slip in, but it's okay. Can live with those few items. But now we have our L.A.Z.E.I with the validator, email validator, and our annotations inside there. And now let's get started with the Gradle plugin itself. Okay. So for the Gradle plugin, we're going to need, I think it's 2 classes, 2 more. We need the Gradle plugin class itself, and then we also need to add in extensions. And extensions are going to be majorly what is going to be visible whenever a user tries to use your plugin inside the example. I think I have my example open. The name is wrong, so keep forgetting what the name is. So L.A.Z.E example. Okay, so here, wherever we're going to implement our plugin, we want to have something like L.A.Z.E false. Okay, and we also want to have something like what do we want to have? Defaults. Email, something like that. So here, generally the reason for this is because I want us to cover 2 items. One is just creating the extension itself and the properties inside the extension. The other one is having something like this, like a multi-level declaration for your plugins. You can find that inside the documentation, but we'll cover that because we need it for the plugin itself. Okay, so let's start with the L.A.Z.E plugin itself. As I said before, this needs to be this class here. Okay, so we're going to just copy this Kotlin, so L.A.Z.E compiler Kotlin. It's okay. Going to create a new directory inside main Kotlin, create a new class. Okay, and it extends the Kotlin plugin support. I'm just going to copy paste this one, put it here, and also the dependencies. this one, put it here. Okay. It seems like we don't have a dependency. I think this is because we missed something with the Gradle plugin API. So we need a Gradle plugin API here. I copy pasted this and I missed that. Okay, we need the Gradle plugin API. I'm using this version. Why exactly? I think it's the latest one. I think so. I think it's the latest one. So we're going to go here to our project, Gradle. Where is a Gradle? Gradle wrappers, and duplicate this for this value. Okay, so API, again API is equals to whatever we have there. API, okay. Can reload this. Hopefully it gets us the dependency we need. Compiler embedded, don't need that, and this failed. The version, module, the library. What do we need? Invalid toml definition. That one. I think toml doesn't have just ID assistance. I'm not sure if there is a library for that yet, but it would have helped us not to miss that item. Need to implement a few definitions inside here. Is applicable, is a boolean, blah 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 blah. Okay, I'm definitely using sample code that I as just a separate project as a reference, so that you can do this fast. Okay, so something like is applicable, we can't get this one from the configurations. I think Kotlin compilation. Kotlin compilation enabled. Kotlin compilation is enabled. Yeah, we can get that from how we declare our plugin. So what we are going to do is we need the build config, and we need the Gradle extensions. So we need to generally set up the project, apply to compilation. So inside apply to compilation, I think wait no apply to compilation. Okay, so inside the apply to compilation section is where we are generally going to just define a provider, kind of. So this is a list of sub plugin option. So we can't just do project. Where is the project? The Kotlin compilation dot targets. We can just do that and return it. What is here? Can have an empty list, but it needs to be a list of these sub plugins. Okay, and for that, what we need is the sub plugin options. So the sub plugin options are basically you want to pass arguments from Gradle to your plugin. So since you want to pass arguments from Gradle to your plugin, Gradle needs to know how it's going to add those compiler arguments, because when Gradle builds, it does something like, I think so. Or rather, I'm just giving an example of what we need, what is there. Okay, so let's say you have enabled to true. How does the Gradle plugin know that it needs to pass this enabled to true inside your project? Okay, that's why we need extensions. So we're going to go here and just create extensions. And we're going to have the default of L.A.Z.E extension. I don't know what's happening. L.A.Z.E Gradle extension, and I think it takes something like something to do with object factory, internal annotation, testing. I want to get the exact class that you're getting from there so that you don't get the wrong one. Need it from here. Okay, and it needs to extend a Gradle extension and pass the object. Not sure if I'm supposed to move my Gradle extension API. I'm seeing an error there. I don't understand why it's like that. Oh, we don't need the Gradle extension. I created something internally to just help me create the properties. I really want to use it here, but I don't think we can. I think we should rather than can. Okay, so for this specific situation, we need now the properties that we need inside our Gradle extension. So the property that we're going to initially need is boolean, which is equals to objects dot what is it called, property. We want to create a property. Depending on the type of property you want to create, let's say maybe I want to add validators. This is definitely going to be a list. You can create a list property of something. Okay, but really need to look at the Gradle documentation for this so that you can know what you have access to and what you don't have access to. Okay, you need to provide the property type. In this situation, it's a boolean, but you need to provide that here. Boolean class.java, and then what else is this needing? By no what else is this needing? I'm sure if it's the return type that's the issue. Oh yeah, something like that. So with this you'd notice that we now need two properties so that you can access it from your side. Kind of. So what I did to resolve this, to avoid just me not having to access this, I used delegation because there's going to be an interesting item up ahead on just retrieving the value. I used delegation to just achieve this so that we can have getter is just any what is this? We need a setter since we're kind of having a var. Okay, any So we're just using delegation to specify the value there, and also we don't want to be creating these as such at every given time. That's why we created now the Gradle extension class with objects, and then we abstracted it. Extension objects factory, and then inside here we can now have something like it's a protected inline function verified task create property. You're not extending anything to do with class. An inline configuration, you don't need all this. Okay, so this one extends that, and then now we can just say by create property, whereby this one does now does what the top part used to do. Objects dot property t class of Java. Okay, this t is not, this t is as such. You can specify the type there. And what is wrong with this one? Yeah, now you see we don't need this, and now we cover all the roughly most of the scenarios are going to have so let's put that there. I don't like the IntelliJ is not going to really recognize this properly. You see it's boolean with a an exclamation, so we don't want that type to be the type that this item is known as. Let's have that so that we sure that it's the type that we need. Okay, so that's why we need to cut this one now, paste it here, maybe just go and borrow the imports, and optimize for this, and that's perfect. Okay, you can do the same for now list property. So create list property. Not sure what list property returns, so I'm going to remove this one. It's a list property. Specify the type there. Create list property. It's going to be a mutable list whenever you use it here. So yeah. And the other thing now is the fact that now I think I remember saying that we also need to have this bottom part here, whereby we need to flat enable with defaults. Okay, so that needs to be an action. That needs to be an action. Gradle API action T, and the structure of that action now defines when it's going to be called, and just terms of that action. It needs a type here, and the type needs to be a specific extension. So depending on what you need for this situation, I'm going to just create class another extension here. Default extension, we're just extending this one here, sending these ones there, and then boolean. This is email. Then we can use that extension here, there, and apply it generally. So how we apply the extension, we're just going to initialize it with objects. initialize it with objects, then apply action.execute on this item. So definitely don't need that. So something similar to that. Doesn't return anything, so we don't need anything there. That's it. Okay, so we've effectively initialized this bottom part here as with the defaults and just the vlad, and these are the part here. Okay, now what do we need? We need to be getting to use this extension here. So we have our vlad here, compiler plugin ID, and these other details. We need to provide a compiler plugin ID, and that is normally the CLI, I think. And we do this inside the get compiler plugin ID. We do this inside this part here. So our ID is just called vlad CLI. Okay, this item here, but now I don't want it to be called vlad CLI, or rather, okay, I do want it to be called vlad CLI, but let's say later on I change the name. I need to now find where I've used this string. Okay, and that's where the build config comes in. Inside the build configs, we can do something like this. We can go inside our build project. We can say build config, I think it's that one. Okay, build config extension, and now get the project that we need. Compiler plugin. Compiler plugin is inside a project that is called plugin vlad CLI. It's a plugin or plugins. Okay, and now we want to get the package name. I want to define a package name, and the package name, I'm just going to use the project group. Okay, which is, I think it's Libertal something. Libertal libraries, Kotlin, Vlad. That's good enough. Going to use that. Can specify any, and then inside here we now just do our build config field, and you specify the type. So what type is this? It's a string, and then the name that build config is. They're going to be, I think, constants. So you're just going to name them as you would name constants. So vlad CLI, vlad plugin, and then I think it's a value. The value is the compiler plugin name. Okay, the project name that is there, and compiler plugin version. So I need that, and take the version. What's wrong with that? It's a string build field version dot get dot to string. I think that's okay. And what else do we need? Compiler plugin. This is the name. Compiler plugin name. Vlad compiler plugin name. Vlad compiler plugin version. Vlad. I think that's it. Name and the version. that's it for now. Okay. We can reload this. Do we need the group, because we are going to, it's like whenever the compiler plugin runs, it's going to take it's going to add this as a dependency by itself, and so for it to be able to add it as a dependency, we need the plugin name, the group, and the version. Okay, so I think if we just reload the project, theoretically we should have our build config inside here, so that you can say compiler plugin, Gradle plugin, artifact. We need an artifact there. Build config dot something, compiler plugin name. So compiler plugin name, get that from there, paste it here, and okay. So if it doesn't build, just go to your tasks. It should be build config, generate the build configs, minimize this. I think I can make that task depend on refresh or build or something, but we'll see. Okay, so that one's done. This one's not yet done. We have a mutable lists arguments. So CLI arguments, so we can call them that. CLI args, and we apply to the project, and we have this build config, it's the name, version. Now we need to define a sub plugin artifact. So for us to specify the sub plugin artifact, we're just going to use the sub plugin artifact class as such. So we need the name stated before. Not sure if we can use that. Not the name, but I just want to paste these ones so that. Okay. We need the group side here. We need the plugin name. Is that it? Artifact ID, yes. I need the version. So depending if you have a different one for specifically native, you can just duplicate this and add get, it's called something for native, something like that. And that will cover for natives. Okay. Is enabled for the is enabled item. We can now use our extension that we provided here. So how do we get this extension? So to get this extension, you just go to your plugin, and then here we want to say what? Want to say Kotlin extension, want to retrieve it with the get by. So flood extension equals to the project itself, and then from the project you get the extensions. So target project extensions get by, and it's just class of Java. Okay. One thing you note is that if you're using what are these? If you're using delegates, they really come in handy here. Operator fun get value. Okay. Receiver any property. It's okay. Property X should return T. which equals to, this is an extension container. Specify this type explicitly. I just wanted it to do the import for me, so that I can do by here, and well, do this flood extension. Okay, it should be that T, so we need to specify our T here, and we just get by type is equals to get by type, yes, get by type T class.java, makes it to be reified, and make this one to be inline. Or am I missing something? Done something wrong. Okay, such, and it's definitely behaving. Extensions must have a Gradle. Nothing. Okay, just do that. So since we have our L.A.Z.E extensions, we want to return L.A.Z.E extension.enabled. Okay. You're going to use this a couple of times. That's why at least I simplified it, because we need the L.A.Z.E extensions here when we want to pass CLI arguments. Okay. I think that's it for the Gradle plugin. In the next tutorial, we're going to at least try and use it, see how that goes, and yeah, I think this one you can actually publish and maybe publish it. Okay, that's it. See you in the next tutorial.